Hi guys, welcome to the monthly video where we discuss about the economy and equity markets. Before we jump to the economy and market, I thought I'd like to start today with this image जहाँ पे हम 100 years of stock market को track करें and we can see what is the percentage of return that the market has given in any particular year. If you see at the extreme left, you see minus 40%. It was a major crash. It is the worst recorded year. This happened in 1931. But then, if you look at the exact and the extreme right side, after 1931, if the people who had invested had the patience, they would have seen the upside of plus 60% just after 2 years. So for me, this image shows that how important it is to, enter the market when things are looking scary. Now let's start with the global headlines. If you look at the global headlines, they continue to be kind of mixed with a little bit on the negative side. Is the world facing recession? The answer is yes. The probability is increasing in Europe. It is a little bit on the higher side thanks to the Russia-Ukraine crisis. But even in North America, probability बहुत high लग रही है. Inflation अभी भी it's continuing to rise above 10-year average, and in most countries it's the same way. Countries like China के लिए कुछ कह नहीं सकते because वहाँ का data reliable नहीं है. But as the interest rate starts moving up to control inflation, the cost of servicing also keeps on increasing at 1% point increase in interest payments, which significantly, it cost increases for the corporates and the leveraged borrowers. Now, if the central bank's game of raising interest rates and taking out liquidity could have worked provided there was no financial crisis, but ऐसा नहीं है. आई एम श्योर आप सभी को पता होगा कि यूएस में एसवीबी बैंक का क्राइसिस हुआ. स्विट्जरलैंड में क्रेडिट स्विस जो बैंक है, इट इज आल्सो इंडिकेटिंग दैट देयर इज अ कॉस्ट फॉर रेजिंग द इंटरेस्ट रेट, जिसके वजह से लिक्विडिटी जो मार्केट से निकलती है इन्फ्लेशन को कंट्रोल करने के लिए, ये इतना आसान नहीं है. नाउ दिस फियर ऑफ फाइनेंशियल कॉन्टिजेंट इज लाइकली टू इम्पैक्ट ग्लोबल सेंट्रल बैंक्स का डिसीजन मेकिंग पावर. Moving on to Indian economy, it still looks like oasis in the global desert. But yes, there are some dark clouds, some ifs and buts are there about the Indian economy. Let's look at the March 29 headlines. As you can see, there are good news here and there. The exports cross 750 billion dollars. The industry factories output is up by 5.2%. FASTag collection has grown 46% to 50,000 crores. The headline inflation remains above RBI's target level of 6%. The trade deficit started moderating in Jan as well as Feb 23. इंडिया अभी भी बहुत बड़ा डिफेंस इंपोर्टर है, बट अब धीरे धीरे वी हैव आल्सो स्टार्टेड एक्सपोर्टिंग फ्यू डिफेंस इक्विपमेंट्स. So this is a good news. If you look at India's railway exports, you can see the railway cargo loading was highest for fiscal 23. Manufacturing PMI continues to remain in positive territory. So invariably, India has a bit larger headlines in the positive. There are few negative things that are happening that I'll cover further in the video. Economic activity is at all-time high. Capacity utilization is above historical average. Again, one very good thing is GST collections remain above 1.5 trillion, which is a positive sign for the government's budget. Now, government is spending more money on infrastructure. This happens every time when there's election approaching, so it's a good thing for the country. The capital expenditure as a percent of GDP is likely to be around 3.3% for the upcoming year of 2024. Now, private sector has also started talking about new investments. Now, why do I say this? Because private sector अभी उस position में है जहाँ पे वो अपने इस intention को, अपने इस announcements को action में convert कर सकते हैं. The capex to depreciation has come down at a low level. अब इस पॉइंट से क्या है कि देयर इज अ रिवाइवल इन प्राइवेट सेक्टर इन्वेस्टमेंट, बिकॉज अब उनकी जो बैलेंस शीट है वो फेयरली डीलेवरेज्ड है, विच गिव्स देम द लेग रूम एंड द स्पेस फॉर फर्दर इन्वेस्टमेंट्स. Agriculture growth has been very critical for India in the recent past. We all know that how much India is dependent on the agrarian economy part, but there is a slight fear of El Nino. Let's see what happens. Met Department has started measuring, there might be a plus minus 5%, but they have announced it to be 94% of its long-term average. The Indian monsoon will be 94% of its long-term average. One good thing is that the consumer sentiment, which had collapsed post-COVID, has started improving, but it is still below the pre-COVID level. So we need to make sure that this crosses pre-COVID level, and then only the economy will grow. One thing that it can be seen is that in the last 5 quarters, rural economy was witnessing negative volume growth. रूरल इकोनॉमी में जो लोग थे वो लोग स्मॉलर डिनोमिनेशन पैकेट खरीद रहे थे और कम खरीद रहे थे. वो 10 रुपए के पैकेट के जगह 5 रुपए की पैकेट या 7 रुपए की पैकेट वाली बिस्किट खरीद रहे थे और 10 पैकेट के जगह 8 ही पैकेट खरीद रहे थे. दे वर कंज्यूमिंग लेस, एंड जिसके वजह से देयर वाज इम्पैक्ट ऑन द अर्निंग्स ऑफ द कंपनीज, and this was happening well because of the महंगाई of the inflation. But now it seems that consumers spending has started picking up in Jan-Feb 23 quarter. Sales of regular packets have also started improving both in cities as well as in tier 1 towns and few semi-urbans and villages. In many categories like beverages, commodity, packaged foods, home care, personal care, March 23 number seems to be better than the overall number. There is also improving trend in India's productivity as we build global level infrastructure, which is helping improve our productivity as a country. Bank credit growth has started moderating on a higher base, but still remains in double digit for non-food and personal loans. Industrial credit has dipped a little to high single digit, but hopefully it should get revived in the upcoming financial year of 24. Indian banking system is in a robust position compared to global counterparts. The tier 1 or the capital adequacy ratio remains good. Non-performing assets यानी कि NPA remains low level पे, and as well it is fully provided for. So अभी time है जहाँ पे Indian banking system can support and provide resources for India's growth. Trade deficit was running fairly high in the month of November and December, but thanks to oil prices and the gold and everything, it is improved significantly. We have come down from the $20 billion, and this saving will really go a long way thanks to the reduction in gold prices as well as the gold imports. We have also increased our service exports, so this has been a good thing. So this $5 billion a month reduction in trade deficit, अगर हम इसको annualized basis पे sustain कर सकें तो ये हो जाता है $60 billion, and this can be applied and used for something positive in an economy. The rupee inflation continues to remain higher than RBI's target range for the month of February 23. But for FY24, RBI is expecting inflation to come below their target range, upper level of 6%. Their expectation is that inflation will be averaging somewhere around 5.2% for FY24. Of course, inflation trajectory will depend on El Nino as well as what will happen to the oil prices. When we talk about oil prices, OPEC had very recently cut oil point production by more than 1 million barrels and ended up pushing oil prices by $5 from about 75-80 to $85. Clearly, monsoon and oil we have to watch as it can impact India's inflation in a meaningful manner. El Nino is developing in April. We'll get full details about the severity of El Nino's impact on Indian monsoon very soon. But the first research report released by the meteorological department suggests that our monsoon will be little below average at around 94% of the long-term average. So बहुत ज़्यादा impact नहीं है, but tension या जो projections ये होते हैं, this come with a plus or minus 5% deviation. तो 94% वो प्रोजेक्ट कर रहा है, अब ये -5 भी हो सकता है, +5 भी हो सकता है. अगर +5 होता है तो वेल एंड गुड, देयर इज नथिंग टू वरी. हाँ, बट अगर ये -5 होता है तो देयर विल बी सर्टेन इम्पैक्ट ऑन द एग्रेरियन इकोनॉमी एंडिंग अप which will cause some challenges for the Indian economy going forward. Now, like I said, there were good things, but then there is a challenge. Now, this slide shows that particular challenge. The real challenge is the K-shape recovery, where the rich and the upper middle class are spending money, but the lower middle class and the bottom of the pyramid people are getting impacted by the inflation, and the post-COVID events are not able to spend money. Now, if you look at the slide, if you look at the premium gold jewelry, it's growing at a reasonable pace, but a value item like parachute coconut oil of Marico is actually showing negative growth. If you look at higher end Royal Enfield bikes, it's again showing positive growth. बट वहीं पे अगर हम जो एंट्री लेवल बाइक्स है उनको देखते हैं तो यहाँ पे नेगेटिव ग्रोथ दिख रही है. बाइक्स उसी तरह आप गाड़ियों को देखें, जो एसयूवी जितने भी मॉडल्स है दे आर शोइंग पॉजिटिव ग्रोथ. उनमें एक एक साल की वेटिंग पीरियड है फॉर मेनी पॉपुलर मॉडल्स. बट जो एंट्री लेवल हैचबैक कार्स है दे आर शोइंग अगेन नेगेटिव ग्रोथ. लाइकवाइज लग्जरी हाउसेज, प्रीमियम लिकर, हर जगह हम ये देख पा रहे हैं कि जिन द पीपल हु हैव द स्पेंडिंग पावर, who can actually afford the premium things in life, are actually spending money, but the entry level people, the people at the bottom of the pyramid, are not spending money. And we can't run the car of the economy just on the consumption of the rich and the upper middle class. We need to ensure that everybody participates in this journey, because finally we have to grow as a country, as an economy together. Now, when it comes to economy, we have to take tough decisions. As you can see in this slide, the future of the countries is dependent on how much we invest in education, arts, sports, culture, and youth. If you look at the growth of the central plus states expenditure, जो center और state का expenditure होता है on education, arts, sports, culture, youth, it's growing at 10.76% CAGR. बट वहीं पे अगर हम गवर्नमेंट का एक्सपेंस ऑन पेंशन देखें तो इट इज ग्रोइंग ऑन 13%. अब वी हैव टू डिसाइड कि व्हाट काइंड ऑफ ग्रोथ डू वी वांट. इफ वी वांट टू स्पेंड मोर मनी ऑन पेंशन एंड लेस मनी ऑन एजुकेशन, well, that is definitely going to impact our growth trajectory of the future, and that's how the future of the country will be shaped. Now, converting all these broadly positive and somewhat mixed economic points into the market, this particular slide shows that capital goods was one of the best performing sectors, and in the run up to the consumer staples, it should also outperform the market going forward. Metals and technology side have underperformed the market last year. Moving on, if you look India's P ratio vis-a-vis its competitors, it continues to remain at a premium. China trades almost half the valuation of India, and that is why India is not getting the larger chunk of foreign inflows. But we have started seeing some positive inflows in the month of March, and we hopefully see that the second half of the year will see much more inflow to the Indian equity. Now, this is a very interesting slide. It breaks down in the FPI's investment in India. Now, if you look here, the sovereign wealth funds and the government-owned entities, they have total investable assets of 10 trillion. And India mein kitna, how much share does India has? It's about 1%, $74 billion. Now, globally, the scene is that they have the exposure of 3%, but for India, it's only 1%. And if things go well and just this 1% multiplies to 3%, imagine how much will this grow and how much money will India have. The same goes for pension funds. The same goes for endowment funds. If all of this increases, it will have a beautiful and wonderful effect for India. We will have a lot of foreign flows coming. We continue to trade near our historical averages. Our 1 year forward PE has come down to about 17.5 times. Marginal premium to long-term average of about 17x is the average, and we are almost near it. So it's a good thing. We are trading at about 2.8 marginal premium for the price to book value. The average is 2.6x. We used to trade at a significant higher premium to our peers on MSCI. From about 150 percent kind of premium, we have come down to 82, which is not exactly very near to the average of 59, but we are getting there. And in a little bit of time correction or a little bit of correction in the market, and we will be at the similar level as our historical premium to our peers. Obviously, the biggest driver for the stock market currently will be the result session for the March 23 quarter. What kind of results companies give, what does the yearly results tell them? As of now, the street is expecting about 15% earnings growth. But the major driving factor will be the results of the banking sector. And if you remove the underperforming sectors like metals, oils, and gas, then the earning growth will be at healthy at about 31%, mostly driven by the financial sectors. Every time I share this shows the beauty of Indian investors. The domestic investors continue to play an important role. Every year, every month, more and more money is invested by the domestic investors. Thanks to you guys, the mutual fund SIP book has reached a 14,000 crore inflow every month. इन दी मोस्ट इमर्जिंग मार्केट्स एफपीआईज का क्या होता है कि उनको बहुत इजी एंट्री मिलती है, दे थ्रो मनी, दे बाई शेयर्स, बट उनके लिए एग्जिट डिफिकल्ट होता है. बट इंडिया में क्या है, दे फाइंड दैट एग्जिट वेरी इजीली. दैट इज वाई वेन एवर दे फील एनीथिंग दे गो आउट, बट एवरी टाइम they go out, every time they sell, DI buys. So this makes their entry difficult. Moving on, the market cap to GDP ratio declines from its highs. The EPS estimates have been broadly stable. So over and all, what I would recommend is to be ready for the volatility, to buy at dips and don't stop your sips, because this will be the best thing that you could have done for your investment. Market hasn't broadly performed in the last 2 years. So this is where market was at 21 and this is where we are at 23. You can see this has been a more bound ranged, a side movement market. But going forward with all the things that we have discussed today, and if all the things play out right, we can see a good year